Why, hello. What is wrong? Why am I so little? Here we go. It was teeny tiny on the screen. Hello, friends. How are you? Happy Monday. I uh, I hope you had a fantastic Monday. Mine was, excuse me. Mine was pretty busy. Um, I mean, it's the last week of the month, and this is kind of the busiest time of the month for me personally. I have a lot to do, so I didn't have a lot of time today to do the research that I wanted to do. I had to do it after work, but I've got some good information to share for tonight's stream. It's also game 3 of the World Series. So Toronto's playing LA in LA tonight. That starts at 8 o'clock. So I'm going to be going and watching that after I'm done streaming here. So today's topic of choice is SNAP benefits. SNAP benefits are in the news because as of November the 1st, the Trump administration has said that the benefits will be cut off for 40 million people. Now, what's so problematic about that is that it's being blamed on Democrats. And unfortunately, that's not the truth. Democrats are trying to save us Americans from having skyrocketing health insurance premiums, which I appreciate. But unfortunately, when it comes down to it, Dems are showing up in session and Republicans are not. They're on vacation. And Mike Johnson actually just called a recess to Congress. So if Republicans are unwilling to show up to work, to negotiate, then how is this problem supposed to be solved? Democrats are showing up, Republicans are not. So really, who's holding this whole process up? It's not the Republican, or it's not the Democrats. Because the Republicans aren't there. So because of that, SNAP benefits are one of the things that are just not going to be able to be funded as of November the 1st. Now, I've never been on SNAP benefits in the US. I actually, as an immigrant, don't qualify for them until I've been here for 5 years. So legal immigrants, those of us that came here legally and have Social Security numbers, still are restricted from applying for any type of social benefits until we've been in the country for 5 years. So this claim that so many people are illegally and fraudulently getting SNAP benefits just isn't true. Because without a Social Security number, how are you supposed to collect them? How are you supposed to get them? You can't apply. You have to submit a Social Security number on an application. So they don't receive these benefits. You have to have some kind of legal status in order to qualify for them if you're a non-citizen. And I know that personally because I'm one of those legal immigrants. And that is one of the things that they do go over with you when you're going through the immigration process. They will tell you what you can and can't qualify for and things like that. So I know firsthand what they tell you that you can and can't have, right? But what's interesting, something that I found out about today, is that there is a contingency fund that is set up for situations just like these. So a specific amount of funds are set aside so that SNAP can be funded through a government shutdown. And this is some of the information here. So they're called federal emergency funds. And Donald Trump can declare a crisis, and he used those contingency funds for what they were designated for, which is funding SNAP, so that Americans don't go hungry. So one of the things you have to ask yourself is, why aren't Republicans, Trump in particular, using these contingency funds for what they were intended for? It makes you wonder if those funds are even still there. Did Trump maybe use them for something else? But this little graphic here says the Trump administration won't tap emergency funds to pay for federal food benefits, imperiling benefits starting November the 1st for nearly 42 million Americans who rely on the nation's largest anti-hunger program. I'm going to need water throughout this. Oh my goodness. The USDA said in the memo that it won't tap a contingency fund or other nutrition or other nutrition programs to cover the cost of supplemental nutrition assistance program, which is set to run out for federal funds at the end of the month. So it seems like it's not Democrats that are willing to let Americans starve. It's Trump and his administration, because he has the ability to release those emergency funds to feed people, but he's flat out refusing. So if he really cared about the American people, why wouldn't those contingency funds go into effect? Another person brought up the fact that he sent $40 billion in U.S. tax dollars to Argentina. That's enough money to fund the SNAP program for 4.5 months. So much for this whole idea of American first. It sounds like it's Argentina first. So Trump has more options to make sure that people are fed and that the American people are taken care of, but he just doesn't want to. So I think the blame lays with Trump and the Republicans, not with Democrats. Democrats are fighting to save us money. We don't want our premiums to skyrocket. I can't afford my premiums to skyrocket, and many Americans can't either. And that's what the Democrats are trying to stop. But here we are, pointing the finger at Democrats, as they always do, because why would they take accountability for anything? It's ridiculous. This is what the Trump administration posted on the USDA website. Senate Democrats have now voted 12 times to not fund the food stamp program. No, that's not what they were doing. Also known as SNAP. Bottom line, the well has run dry. It's not. There's contingency funds. You just don't want to use them. At this time, there will be no benefits issued November the 1st. We are approaching an inflection point for Senate Democrats. They can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens. Not what they're trying to get for us. And they can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens and gender mutilation procedures, or reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive critical nutrition assistance. So this is what we mean by propaganda. This is propaganda because none of this is true. The Trump administration has the money to fund this program, but they're not. But they don't want you to think that. They don't want you to believe that. They want to point the finger and blame Democrats rather than take accountability because they're the ones holding up funds for SNAP, not us. And then to throw in healthcare for illegal aliens when that's not on the docket. It's not. And part of what people are saying, well, illegal aliens can get emergency medical care. Yeah, they can. Because are we really the kind of people to allow human beings to die in the street because they need emergency medical care, but they're not a citizen, so we're just going to let them die? Is that what you want America to be known for? That it just lets people die because if they're not citizens, who gives a shit? Is that the legacy you want for America? And just so that we're up to speed on that, I believe it was 1986. I think it was 1986 that it was actually signed into law by Reagan, which is an Emergency Medical Care Act, meaning that everyone can get emergency medical care regardless of their status. So that has been a well-established law for almost 40 years. But again, Republicans want to point the fingers at Democrats because they know that their cult is not going to follow up and fact check to find out what the truth is. They're relying on the ignorance and stupidity of their followers because that's why they continually lie. It's ridiculous. And like, so part of what I put together for this particular stream was I was on X and my husband sent me a couple of videos as well. But MAGA is out there celebrating the fact that people aren't going to eat. They are happy that people are going to starve. Now let's remember who receives SNAP benefits. Children, the elderly, the disabled, single moms, people living below the poverty line. This is a vulnerable population of this country. And MAGA is celebrating these fucking people starving. That's who MAGA is. That is who MAGA is. They revel in people hurting, especially the people that they don't like. And just as a quick example, now this is after maybe 30 minutes of searching, not even. I'm sure if I had more time to dedicate to finding these comments, I would find more. But this is just a brief look at some of the comments that I found on X of MAGA saying that they're happy people are being denied food. So I just give you a second to read some of that. But it's like, how many Republicans identify as Christian? So these people are most likely Christians celebrating people starving. How can you sit there and claim to be a Christian when Jesus said that you should take care of your neighbor, you should take care of the foreigner? Jesus went out himself and fed how many people with fish and bread? Did he ask their status when he did that? No. Did he ask if they were a citizen when he did that? No. Did he ask if they had a job? Did he ask if they were able-bodied? No. He just fed them because they were people and they needed to eat. So the fact that these so-called Christian Republicans are sitting here saying that human beings don't deserve to eat, these people aren't Christians. They're not even close to Christians. They never have, and they never will be. Because could you imagine if Jesus came back and this crowd of people was who greeted him? Could you realize how angry he would be? Remember how he went into the temple and he flipped tables because people were hoarding wealth? How do you think that he would react to this? Like, this is disgusting behavior. It's terrible. You know, people have the right to eat. And we as a community have an obligation to take care of each other. And I had posted this earlier on my YouTube about, tax dollars. There's one in here that says, yeah, the bigger story here is why 40 million people are eating on my dime. You're that fucking selfish? Considering that our tax dollars go to fund a military, which kills people, corporate subsidies, bank bailouts, ballrooms, paying back a U.S. president who was fined a certain amount of money, getting that paid back. All of those types of things are where our tax dollars are going, being sent to foreign countries to fund genocide, to fund Argentina. I would rather my tax dollars go back into my community, feeding people, educating people, make sure people have food and clothing, that they have access to health care, affordable health care, that they can have jobs, safe communities, medical services for emergencies, police services, fire services. These are kinds of the things that taxes are supposed to go to, enriching our communities, because communities that are happier, healthier, and more educated statistically have less crime. Because people aren't driven to crime out of desperation, because they have enough food in their bellies. They have things to keep them occupied. They can live their life instead of living on the edge of desperation where they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. So it's mind boggling to me that mega is so focused on hurting people rather than supporting them. These are people in your communities. These are the elderly and children in your communities that are going to suffer, the disabled that are going to suffer, you know? And it's like you're celebrating the suffering of human beings. How do you look at yourself in the mirror every morning knowing that you do that? Like the selfishness is just mind boggling, mind boggling. Anyway, those those comments got me riled up because these are the same people that were a month ago bitching and moaning about how evil Democrats were and how they were celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. I got accused of celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. You know what it is considered celebrating? It's posting actual quotes from Charlie Kirk apparently is celebrating his death. So the MAGA bunch isn't the brightest crayons in the box, obviously. Very, very dull. But this is how they operate, right? They can turn around and say, well, you're not sad that this person died. You're evil. But that they can sit here on the other hand and celebrate millions of Americans not having a way to feed their families. They don't see the hypocrisy in that because they have no empathy. And that's very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. What other graphic did I have here? Oh, okay. So there was a lady on TikTok. There's a couple of TikTok videos that I have seen. My husband sent me a couple. But the one that went viral is the peanut butter toast lady. If you don't know who that is, you can go to TikTok, you can look her up. But basically, she sat on a video eating a piece of buttered toast or a peanut butter and toast, talking about, well, if you're worried about losing your SNAP benefits in November, what did you do with October's benefits? That's the kind of stupidity MAGA is working with. Because obviously somebody who received benefits in October used those funds to eat in October. So there's not going to be anything left at the end of October because it's already been used to feed them. It's been used for its intended purposes, to buy groceries for people and their families. So if November benefits don't come in, they're not going to eat in November. And what happens in November? Thanksgiving. So MAGA is heartless. It just doesn't give a shit. They don't give a shit about people. And they wonder why we're so angry because we can see your lack of empathy. We can see how heartless you are. And you just don't care. That's the thing. You don't care. And I don't understand. You want us to care about the things that you care about, like podcasters who say evil and awful things. But when it comes to things that actually matter, like making sure people are fed, it doesn't matter. They don't care. Now, someone had posted something interesting in response to a comment that I saw on X. And they used AI. And it's funny how Grok, the AI, posts information when Republicans ask for it, and it posts information that is completely the opposite to what they're looking for. They're hoping that an AI is going to be as biased as they are, and unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out that way. So someone had posted this response from Grok, which I thought was very interesting, so that I thought I will pull that up. So this is what Grok had to say. SNAP eligibility requires U.S. citizenship or qualified non-citizen status, like mine, a green card, excluding undocumented immigrants. USDA data shows about 1.5 million non-citizens received SNAP benefits in fiscal year 2022, out of roughly 42 million total participants, meaning that over 96% are citizens. 96% of SNAP recipients are citizens. It says a lot, doesn't it? It says a lot. And let me just see here. There was another website that I had open that had some statistics on it. Where did it go? There it is. I had a bunch of stuff set up here to save. So this is a website that I found that has some interesting statistics on it. So we can look at whatever state we want to. For some reason, it just came up with Arkansas. I'm going to scroll down to my state, Pennsylvania. All right. So one thing I did want to mention is that population density matters. So obviously, states that have higher populations like California and New York are going to have higher recipients of SNAP recipients, basically. So obviously, the more populated you are, the more people you're going to have to help. That's just kind of common sense. But population density does matter. But if we just look at who's receiving SNAP benefits in my state, so 2 million Pennsylvania residents are 15% of the state population, so 1 in 7. 41,697,500 participants in the U.S., or 12% of the total population, 1 in 8. So 58% of SNAP participants are families with children. 44% are families with members who are older adults or disabled. 43% are in working families. So if we look at it nationally, 62% of SNAP participants are in families with children. 37% are in families with members who are older adults, meaning elderly or disabled. And 38% are in working families. So that's a good portion of people that are working and have jobs, but aren't making enough to afford food. And with the job market the way that it is right now, there's going to be even more people on those benefits because jobs aren't as easy to come by anymore. They just aren't. Most SNAP participants in Pennsylvania have incomes below the poverty line. So if we just look at this little graph here, 29% are below 50% of the poverty line. This is income between 51 and 100% of the poverty line, and the income, it's 40% is 100% above the poverty line. So this is some data as of 2023. 10.8% of households were food insecure, meaning that their access to adequate food is limited by lack of money and other resources. That could be a lot to do with the fact that a lot of Pennsylvania is very rural communities. I'm living in one of those. 12% of the population lived below the poverty line. 15.7% of children lived in families below the poverty line. And 10.4% of older adults lived below the poverty line. So that's the elderly. SNAP reaches populations in need. Between 95 and 100% of eligible individuals participated in SNAP in Pennsylvania in pre-pandemic 2020. SNAP lifted 304,000 people above the poverty line in Pennsylvania, including 109,000 children between the year of 2015 and 2019 on average. So this is just looking at what they receive. So SNAP targets benefits according to need. Households with very low incomes receive more SNAP benefits than households closer to the poverty line because they need more help affording adequate food. Sorry, my throat is super dry. I'm still getting over whatever this sickness was. And now all of a sudden, my throat is dry as a bone. So we're going to put a cough drop in. Because of a congressionally mandated reevaluation of the Thrifty Food Plan, the basis of SNAP benefits took effect in 2022. SNAP benefits are higher and better aligned with the cost of healthy, realistic diet. And that probably has a lot to do with the fact that food costs a lot more now. And people often say, you know, people on SNAP are buying junk. When you look at what the cost of food is, especially now, and you compare healthy food versus versus the what's on sale, you can get more bang for your buck when you're buying cheap processed stuff. That's unfortunately just the way it is. I wish that, more healthier foods would be more expensive or less expensive, but that's just not the way it is. We have a couple of local farm stores. There's actually a really nice Amish one about 10 minutes from here that I really like. But when you go in there, their produce is much more expensive than you're going to get somewhere at a Walmart. And if you're trying to feed a family of 4 or 5, you've got to stretch that dollar as much as you possibly can. So if something that you can make out of a box will feed the 5 of you versus buying a couple of fresh fruits and veggies, which is not going to stretch all that far, you kind of have to weigh your options. And that's kind of how that works. But each household member per month gets approximately $178. I spend that in 1 week on groceries for my family of 3. And for each household member per day, $5.85. That's not even a Big Mac meal at McDonald's per day. So that just kind of gives you a better idea of what's affordable and really what's not, right? There was something else. Did I put up here? Nope. There was one other graphic that I saved, and I didn't upload it. I didn't upload it in time to put it on the stream today, but I want to see who this guy is first, because he seems like he's a government official. Let's see. Oh. Well, he kind of isn't government. His name is Mike Davis. He's an American lawyer, conservative political strategist, and advisor. He was chief counsel for nominations to Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley and the founder and president of the Article 3 Project. I don't even know what that is. He's a staunch defender and ally of Donald Trump and was rumored to be one of his candidates for attorney general. So this tweet here that he posted, I'm not sure if this is on X or if this is something on Truth Social. I'm not sure. It was posted on Facebook. Someone screenshotted it and posted on Facebook. So Mike Davis says we should only help people who can't help themselves. It's outrageous that 40 million people get food stamps. Get off your fat ghetto asses, get a job, stop reproducing, change your shitty culture. So that's an American lawyer trash talking Americans that need assistance. And from the language that he's using in that tweet, extremely racist, because he's implying that a certain demographic of the country receives benefits and are abusing the system. So, yeah, that says a lot. It's funny that people are sitting here and they're scrutinizing every single thing that people buy. And they think that they get to step in and say, hey, I don't think you should be eating that. Hey, I don't think you should be eating that. Like they have the ability to tell poor people what they can and can't eat because their tax dollars go into it. What gives you that right? For the people that are receiving Medicare, does that mean that we get to step in and tell them what healthcare they can and can't receive? Where do we draw the line? Why are we being more critical of what poor people are using the small amount of tax dollars that they get in assistance and determining what they can and can't buy for food. But we sit back here and we don't hold the government officials and the rich people accountable. Why are you blaming poor people when it's the rich people that are making the calls here? They're abusing the system more than any poor person has the ability to. Hi, baby. But we're sitting here criticizing what people buy with their SNAP benefits to eat. Right? Seems logical. And it's frustrating overall and disappointing that MAGA is sitting here saying that people don't deserve to eat, that Americans don't deserve to eat. They want to put America first. And during the whole campaign leading up to the election, America first, America first, America first. But when it boils down to actually putting America first, MAGA's not interested in doing that. They're just going to go ahead and support whatever President Butthurt decides that is going to happen. Just like he has the ability to release those contingency funds to feed Americans. But instead, he's sending millions of dollars to other countries. He's building a ballroom. That is, according to his press secretary, building the damn ballroom is more important than Americans starving. What kind of president is that? He's not. He's not. He's a scumbag who doesn't care if Americans suffer. And just look at the people that support him in doing so. And that should tell you everything that you need to know about them, if you didn't already know. I already knew, but you know. Anyway, that's my 30 minutes. I'm going to go crochet, watch my baseball game. It is tied. The series is tied 1-1. So hopefully the Blue Jays are going to take game 3. I told my mother that I wanted them to win the series before Wednesday, but unfortunately we're going to have to go to Wednesday. So we have game 3 tonight, game 4 on Tuesday, game 5 on Wednesday. But hopefully we win 4 games in that span of time, regardless. So I made this wonderful little graphic today. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it, but it's cute and I love it. And it's a reminder to all of you out there to make good choices, friends. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you again tomorrow night. Have a great night.